Hello, everyone. This is Gabe. I'm here today for another episode of Gabe and Politics today. So today, there's been some recent things, pretty wide update. But overall, today we're going to be talking about policy, etc. So yeah, let's get into the talk. So recently, as you guys may know, I've also talked very much a lot about my school recently. So, one of my friends had informed me that there is an LGBTQ poster. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. A quick thing to tell you this. So, for example, just to explain this, I had made proposals to talk on religion and more. On family, faith, and freedom. Many kids in the school are Christians. Mainly because, on one thing, like if you really do examine, I have talked with multiple children at the school, and they've said that they are Christian. So if they are Christian, the parents should be also concerned because because we are middle schoolers walking through the high school with the high school and seeing these LGBTQ posters talking about all these things where it comes into critical theory where it's just talking about social concept overall. And I think it's kind of something in a way inappropriate to be put in schools. So you're telling me that I cannot put my own religious beliefs on walls, yet you allow things talking about regarding around, sex ed overall or other forms of teaching. So you're telling me children, literal children, which they do not need at this time, about gender transition therapies, about very radical ways. It's very much weird to be telling kids at an age, like at a certain age. And yes, it probably is in the high school, though there are middle schoolers who walk through that same hallway. And if there are literal middle schoolers that walk through that same hallway, or even an elementary school student, they go through those hallways sometimes. If that elementary school student sees that poster, they're going to be interested in it and they're going to immediately lock into it. They're going to think this is the right way to think. So you're telling me that I cannot place my own religious beliefs while you tell people, be kind to this person. Why can't you be kind or allow religion in the schools? Yes, there is separation of church and government, though it never states for all religions to be accepted. It only states that a government cannot endorse one religion. It has to respect all religions and all of the people's belief. If a whole school, it doesn't have to be a whole school agreeing on one religion. It can be a group of people, it can be on one group. Purpose to tell you this. You can respect all religions in all schools. In some religions, not to mention, can also be offended by this. There is some parts in Christianity where we feel offended by those kind of things. In return, overall, it's something overall. If we're putting those posters up there, it's sparking the woke theory overall. And I think if we're putting that up in schools, it's dangerous to us. It's a sign that we, the students, are being exposed to explicit content at a young age now, where it's coming to the point where it's being displayed in schools and it's inappropriate. It's not needed at this time or at our age. It's insane, really. And I have nothing against anyone who is gay, lesbian, or anything. I have nothing against them, right? I think all equally, we all are the same, though in a way, it's not a right way how to function. in schools. I don't think schools should be displaying this for young children to see. It is weird. It is honestly something else. If a parent sees this, they obviously should be able to speak up. So parents, if you're watching this today, I'm going to advise you of something. When you see that poster in the hallway, tell a school board member to either examine this or review this poster to stop displaying this towards children. Personally, I have nothing against anyone who is gay, lesbian, or anything. Once again, just to state that, I have nothing against them. But when it comes to the point where we're hanging up posters in schools, it's completely something that's going to disrupt a child's education at the time. Because then kids are going to start wondering, they're going to start making jokes about it, they're going to start, it could be something. So if I can't display my own religious property there, then I'm going to still put up that religious property there. Because if you're allowing that, then I should be able to hang up my religion. I should be able to hang up my beliefs in school. To not force people into religion or belief, but to encourage them to probably think through those, or to even spark debate into it. That's just how I overall see it right now. That's how I overall see it. Not to mention, there are very much new laws and more that says schools can't do something like this at times. There's some laws that have been put in place. Remember, education is still left up to state and also, local. So, yeah, it's a good thing that it's probably left to state and local. So another thing is that, so I've gotten some things and a phone call. So let me tell you this. I am currently doing a survey overall, checking with students in my school to see if they approve the current school policy. And from how I see it, current students are not accepting how the schools function, with concerns over on technology and more. So if it's concerned on technology overall and more, this shows that students probably are not safe with an environment at school. Well, not safe in a way. They might feel a bit dishonored by their school. That's probably the best way to say it. Dishonored is the best way. And overall, right here, if we show something, give me a second. See, it says right here. In 2021, 66, not 67, not that, percent of respondents said their students were misbehaving a little or a lot more than in school. So why is this relevant to the thing? This shows, and personally for me, that schools are failing at trying to teach our students. These schools are failing at trying to tell our students to get out of the whole official look of how we should go into. So like getting into an office job, getting a restaurant job at like 14, and then going to college overall. Now, once again, I have nothing against any of these things, but one thing to say is that education is failing. Education is failing at a huge, alarming rate, and we need to be able to prevent it. It's all because of the Department of Education. The Department of Education has been around since the 1970s. 1970s, hear me from that. It's been nearly 50 or 40 years. Well, 50s to 40 years since that. the Department of Education overall is kind of a funding base for education overall. The control over what is shown in education is decided by state or local government. So, if it's there, overall, so it was supposed to be funding hub. It's supposed to be a funding hub, and that's how it should be. But no, the Department of Education is able to sneak that through by making some boundaries that allows it to prevent funding to certain school projects or anything, and prevents those because the Department of Education has become so greedy to the point where schools are losing funding, which to the point now the government is deciding what they're able to make in school. It's honestly insane. Because one thing, it's not helping our students at all. It is making our teachers feel dismotivated. A survey right here made by the National Education Association, most teachers, 68%, say they have experienced verbal abuse from their students. Those students are rebelling in some sort of response. Another study made by Pew Research Center, 48% say I'm kind of glitching out here a bit, but the academy, the performance in academies of most students at your schools is fair or poor. Now, to tell you this real quick, I am sort of in between that. In math, I have 1.5. In reading, I have a 2. In science, I have a 3. In other studies, I most likely have a 2. If a student has to balance that, if a student has a 1 or so, it's either that the teacher has failed to teach them, or that the parent, or that the student isn't able to manage their education by maybe excuse. One thing to say is that we're developing such a place where teachers are just saying, okay, here you go, here's the textbook. Teachers are doing like, okay, here you go, here's a study guide, here's something. No. Giving a student a study guide and just telling them to read is not the right way. Actually allowing research, sparking debate in class, doesn't have to be political at any sort, and actually responding to and actually answering these questions are the right way. We've developed so much of a way where our teachers are acting like robots. They're acting like literal house robots, to the point where they have to follow what the principal says. The teacher should be able to make their own learning, well, to the students' learning fun. Approximately 1/3 of students dislike school. And another third of high school students report that most of their feelings about school are negative. Surveys have proved this. It's been by Yale News, Grad Solutions, Forwarders, and more sources. Even the conversation, the Children's Health Council, and more. It says even right here by Funity Organization. 75% of teens' feelings about high school are negative. And this study was made back in February 3rd of 2020. And it says right here, for a new study, researchers surveyed 21,678 U.S. high school students and found that nearly 75% of students' self-reported feelings related to school were negative. The study included a second experience sampling study in which 472 high school students in Connecticut reported their feelings at a distant moments throughout the school day. Those my mental assessments told the same story. High school students reported negative feelings 60% of the time. That is more than 50% right there. Researchers recruited the students for the survey through email lists of partner schools and through social media channels from nonprofits like the Greater Good Science Center and more. This already proves right here that we are failing as teachers. We are failing. Personally, my own family comes from a line of teachers. Not on my dad's side, but on my mom's side. We come from teachers. We come from professors. If we're not making education fun for our students, if we're not allowing some sort of debate in education, if we're not allowing some sort of way, like maybe watching the news in our class, maybe watching something interesting, maybe allowing projects to be made, maybe allowing more debate in there. I think that's why I've always been interested in science or social studies. It's because it allows debate. It's been allowed to do that without needing a textbook. And I think overall, because overall what happened is that my school had taken away phones. If we start satisfying students more, it can help benefit more. We have to start making education and learning more fun, more excited, more brilliant, more innovative. If we're not doing that, then our education is going to fall. Personally, I know people who have been high school dropouts. I know some relatives who have been high school dropouts. I've known relatives that have not made it to college. Yet they are starting to develop more. They've been able to, and yes, maybe their writing's not the right way, or their form of literacy has not been well. They're still, in their own way, intellectual people. So, when you think about it, our education system is failing us. We're going to be deserted at some point. So I think overall, if we combine the National Science Association, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Agriculture, and more, together, to create one school organization that is distant from whatever the Department of Education has decided. And even if we decide to keep it, remain it as an only funding source. Keep it as a funding hub that will accept schools and will not deny claims, will not decline any student requests or anything. So that's overall how I see education today. If we're going to continue like this, we are going to fall. Heck, China has prioritized education as much, and they have had more entrepreneurs than us. They have had more lead in technology. They have had more of a lead. And I'm not saying all students need education. I'm not saying every student needs to be in a specialized education. We need to have more fun teaching so our students can be able to achieve their dreams that they have to grow when they grow up. If someone wants to be a scientist, we have to be able to set learning for that person to become a scientist. Oh, sorry. Just had to pull up. We should be able to have more ability to help students set their goals and help them get to that period in their life. If we're not able to achieve that, then how can we say we're making America great again, or even say that we're trying to make education great again? It practically makes no sense, and it's ruining our children's education system completely. So I'm going to call this on the Secretary of the Department of Defense. Sorry, not the Defense. Sorry. The Secretary of Education in America. And President Donald Trump. In White House, I'm calling on to you today that we must make America great again by also put in education to a more funner spot, into a more thought through process instead of just being all specialized in more. Being able to also allow teachers to focus on one student at a time and actually get valuable lessons to go through teaching instead of just having this weird concept of teaching. Another thing is, so I debated the other day with some people. It had been on free stuff. So socialism is a very much thing that contradicts free stuff. I can say this overall. If we have free stuff, it's gonna be something that's gonna break the economy. One thing is that throughout life we've seen, well, not throughout life, but throughout history we've seen economic falls. We've seen breaks between the economy because we've lowered prices so much. One thing is that when one place had socialism, the Soviet Union had socialism. Yes, they used money. Not everything was free. Though what was provided was healthcare, education, housing, utilities, employment, vacation, and childcare. Overall, there is also taxpayers. In America, we have a system so much where we do not have control over some things, and that's where limited government has to come in. Limited government is where we have the foundation where we can say that America can be a free country because it allows freedom of speech, freedom of owning a business, freedom of constitutional rights. In America, we have a healthcare system where we have corporations, not government. Not all government does not control healthcare as much. They can only control the tax on it. They can only control the money revolving around healthcare. They cannot control whether or not a person can get healthcare or not. That's up to the companies, that's up to their providers, that's up to them. The only way is that they can maybe show some sort of scientific funding. Like, for example, like they can fund it towards going to cancer patients or anything. They just can't bring it up to that. Education, another thing that is something so much. Education was free in the Soviet Union too. If education is always free, I think overall, yes, we should be able to have schools provide that kind of education, to kind of like have some sort of free education and what. Not free, I don't want to say free, because if we say free, then that's kind of unfair. Because also, not to mention, just to continue on with the whole thought process of free stuff, we have taxpayers. Taxpayers who pay money to those. So technically, not everything's going to be free because taxpayers, and some citizens count as taxpayers. We actually all count as taxpayers. We all count as taxpayers. All adults count as taxpayers. All adults, all emancipated children count as taxpayers. Oh wait, nearly everyone pays some sort of tax. Sorry to say that. Nearly every person. But because of that, everyone has to pay some sort of tax here. Yes, there's child tax. And that's where I disagree with some people. Like, for example, there's people like Zoran Mandani who wants free healthcare, free childcare. That is something we should be dreaming of. Though it would break our economy. If everything's just free. For example, in the Great Depression, there was gonna be a point. So when FDR had been voted into the presidency, he had not chose to make everything free like how we envision it today. what he had originally done is that what he had done is where he had made a decision to sorry, give me a second. He had made the New Deal program where it involved financial programs. He did not say anything about free stuff. He did not make everything free. He tried to make some sort of financial stability there. He didn't make everything free. He didn't make every single thing free for every citizen. Yet it's still in balance the Great Depression to now come back for us to now be able to be in the most economic stability we can. Another thing to say that it was involved within the socialism is housing. Today we also live in a system where housing is sometimes also controlled by companies too. It can be controlled by retailers and also government at the same time. It can be controlled by companies and government at the same time at times. Now, government controls really like those electric taxes or more. If you're renting a house, that's probably going to the landlord. The landlord's gonna, pay those taxes back. But so having that would also because when you think about the whole thought of socialism when it comes to economic terms, it really focuses on free stuff instead of free market. If you think about it, free stuff can also break the whole ideology it has around small businesses and more. Because money is what gets to do it. Socialism says that money does not have value. It says that money does not have really any place. Yes, it says that it's providers mainly. It's more that these in today's moderation of it, companies instead of government. Quick second, everyone. Alright, sorry guys, I was just gonna have to respond to a call real quick. Alright, but continuing on, it could hurt small businesses, and businesses rely a lot on money. They rely on, and those businesses put prices on. Yes, there are things like international tariffs where it comes to the point where they can put tariffs on certain countries, certain consumer items. Yet those businesses still control those prices. If we're basically putting taxes on those business, well, not putting taxes, but if we're making everything free, those businesses will start to lose money and they will start to lose the control of their businesses. And then the whole concept of businesses wouldn't make any sense, because then those businesses would not be able to set prices, because then we'll be adding restrictions on small businesses, on corporations, and that would be restricting their. Because when you think about it, having these big corporations, that allows more small businesses to come in a way. You want me to explain? Okay. When you think about it, we have these tech giants here with trillions of dollars, like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta. There's also Nvidia. Those ones are the 5 big ones we know right now. There are very much in those businesses right there open opportunities by being the ones who provide those tech ones, tech items or tech investments to those small businesses. They allow some of those companies give over that tech, so some of that tech to those people, like Nvidia. They give over some of their tech to some PC companies. They give it over to those computer companies. It helps strengthen those businesses that then come up and rise while using also those items. So in a way, it's not in a way to say that they own those businesses. They just are providers in a way. So if we tax those corporations to the point where where they're not able to put prices, it also affects small businesses. So if those are affecting small businesses and corporations, it's going to block the economy. It's going to make it fall, and it's interrupting. So that's why I think overall, in my personal way, I object to the thought of socialism. Because when you think about it, everything being free is something that is nearly impossible to do in today's economy, where we have corporations being some of the main centers for these systems that are usually made by providers. So that's where I draw the line there. Alright, but yeah. So yeah, that's the three topics I'm gonna talk about today for now. Gonna end the podcast for today. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, keep spreading the message. Keep spreading the message to your friends, your family, to your teachers, to your work colleagues, anyone. Because with your help, we can continue this movement and continue to keep going. You guys keep me motivated. Thank you and have a good night. Peace out.